Could commissioners please check in?
In a public meeting. She wanted to say it to me.
I think I'm going to start this. I'd like to call the Butte-Silver Council of Commissioners regular meeting for Wednesday, January 4th, 2023 to order. Clerk, could we please get roll call?
12 present, 0 absent.
12 present, 0 absent. Next, could we move to the prayer and the pledge? Commissioner Sorich.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Fellow Commissioners, I'd like to welcome Mr. Tommy Walker to his first meeting as a Commissioner. Almighty God, we implore you, look upon us and guide us this night as we make decisions which so greatly affect our community of Butte-Silver Bowl. Direct our thoughts, words, and deeds so that we please you and best serve our fellow citizens. Amen.
Next, we'll move to the approval of the minutes for the December 21st, 2022 regular meeting. Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. At this time, I move to approve the minutes from the December 21st, 2022 regular meeting.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
12 yea, 0 nay.
12 yea, 0 nay. Motion passes. We don't have any items that are not addressed on the agenda tonight, so we'll move on to the Chief Executive's report. Well, we made it another year around the sun. We're back to the new year, and first off, we want to welcome Commissioner Tommy Walker out of District 11 as you're replacing a long-standing commissioner out of there, and so we want to welcome you here on the commission and wish you good luck as we move forward. I also want to congratulate the new leadership of our commission as Commissioner Frederickson has been named the chairman of the board and Commissioner Shea has been the vice chairman. And so I want to congratulate you both, and I know we're in good hands with the leadership of this team. So the year ended with many accomplishments that we can be very proud of. In the next few weeks, I'm pulling together all the different data from all of our departments so we can do a report to the community. And so, and then I'll be reporting out what the goals that my administration will have for 2023. 2022 did not come without challenges as we enter 2020. Our 2022 did not come without challenges as we enter 2023. We will continue to work on the issues facing our community, the drug epidemic, crime, mental health issues, and homelessness are serious problems that face our community. Our community action team and our affordable housing task force will continue to work hard to come up with solutions and advocacy addressing issues in our community. Tonight, I know we're going to have a presentation from the Commissioner Reardon and members of the Citizens United Against Urban Decay. I'll touch on a few things that have been happening that I think people don't know that have been happening. We've been working on a program since Commissioner Reardon brought forth a proposal to take $225,000 to work on a demolition program. We've been working with the county attorney, planning department, community enrichment on how that could look. There's hurdles as we go forward with this when you talk about private residents and how people may be able to apply for this. So we'll be bringing that forward to the Council of Commissioners for approval of that program as we move forward. So with that, I'm going to close out the Chief Executive's report. I think we're going to have a pretty good lengthy discussion today about some of the issues that are facing us. So we'll move forward with section one, I'm sorry, public comment on any item on the agenda tonight. If anyone would like to come forward to speak on any item on the agenda, you can come forward, state your name, your address, and what issue you'll be speaking on. But I'm gonna allow one thing first. I'm gonna allow one letter to be read into the record, and then I'll allow you to speak if that's okay. Okay, so clerk, could you please read the one letter into the record, and then we'll open it up for all, other public comment if you want to just wait there. Okay.
Okay, I just have one question. My name is Mary Frill. Thank you very much for replying to my letter.
Mary, can I have you do that right after we do the read into the record? We're going to do that first, and then we'll have all the public comment right after. You can stay right there if you want. It won't take very long. Okay, thank you. Clerk, please read the letter into the record.
Stephen J. Etty and Denise G. Etty, 2055 Shadow Drive, Belgrade, Montana, 59714. We are owners of 817 South Dakota. We purchased this house in the spring of 2021.
I'm sorry, I did not know who got that letter. I am Denise Etta, and I would just like to speak on my own behalf. She came from Belgrade.
So hold on for a second. Is this your letter?
Yes, it is.
So the letter that he's reading into the record is your record that you submitted that you wrote?
I did not submit it. I do not know how we got it.
Oh, okay.
She didn't know she could make it.
Okay, so we don't need the clerk to read it into the record. Okay, we'll give you that opportunity. Okay, so is that going to be part of the presentation tonight, Trudy? Okay, that's what I'm saying is, so right now we're in public comment, and so we'll reserve her time to do it during the presentation, if that works. Okay, thank you, Ms. Sill. Thank you for being patient.
Now, in 2017, 101.
Ms. Sill, are you speaking on an agenda item tonight? If you're not, then I've got to reserve you back to the end of the agenda tonight to speak on an item that's not on the agenda. I'm sorry, that's just procedurally how we work. I apologize, but that's procedurally how we have to do this, okay? Thank you, Ms. Sill. Okay, so we will move on to any other public comment on any item on the agenda tonight. If you'd like to speak on any item on the agenda tonight, please come forward, state your name, your address, and the item that you'd like to speak on. Okay, seeing none, I think a lot of people are waiting for the presentation, so we're good there. Okay, so seeing none, we'll move on to section 1, bid openings, public hearings, and/or presentations. So we've got 3 bid openings tonight. County Attorney Joyce, do we have proof of publication for our 3 bid openings?
Mr. Chief Executive, there is proof of publication for all 3 bid openings, and all appear to be in order.
Thank you, County Attorney Joyce. We'll move on to first one, communication number 2022. Let me get my glasses on so I can read. 2022-582, Jim Keenan, Water Treatment Chief Operator, requesting Council Commissioners concurrence to allow a bid opening on January 4th, 2023 for supplying chemicals to be used by Butte-Silver water and wastewater treatment plants and Ridgewater's Water Park. And it looks like Director Neary is going to open the bids for us tonight.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher and Commissioners. It looks like we have 5 bids for the chemicals. Are these in order? The first one is from Thornton, Musso, and Bellaman Incorporated out of Zachary, Louisiana. I hope.
Mr. Chief Executive, there is a bid bond in the amount of 10% from a licensed surety company that appears to be in order.
Thank you, County Attorney Joyce.
Chief Executive Gallagher and Commissioners, this is the same chemical bid procedure that we did the last few years, and all the chemicals are on there. Each company doesn't bid on all of them. They just pick a certain one. The sheet that I gave you will be able to tell you. This one is for bid form D, 50% citric acid, and the price is $1.85 per pound.
That's $1.85 per pound.
That's the only one that they bid on.
Okay. On the citric acid, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
The second one is from US Alco from Baltimore, Maryland.
Mr. Chief Executive, there is a bid bond in the amount of 10% from a licensed surety company that appears to be in order.
Thank you, County Attorney Joyce.
Chief Executive Gallagher, they bid on bid form I, liquid aluminum chlorohydrate, at 44 cents per pound.
That's 44 cents per pound.
Next one is from Kimera out of Lawrence, Kansas.
Mr. Chief Executive, there is a bid bond in the amount of 10% from a licensed surety company that appears to be in order.
Thank you, County Attorney Joyce.
They, Chief Executive Gallagher, they also bid on bid form I, liquid aluminum chlorohydrate at 46 cents per pound.
That's 46 cents per pound. On bid item I.
This one is from Thatcher Company, Salt Lake City, Utah.
Mr. Chief Executive, there is a bid bond in the amount of 10% from a licensed surety company that appears to be in order.
Thank you, County Attorney Joyce.
Chief Executive Gallagher, they bid on a few. So it's bid form A is $3.50 per gallon. B, which is sodium hydroxide for $1,500 per ton. C is sodium hydroxide for $1,330 per ton. D is 50% citric acid, $2.40 per pound. E, liquid aluminum sulfate is $525 per ton. Liquid chlorine is $1.20 per pound. And I, liquid aluminum chlorohydrate for 52 cents per pound.
So I'll just go back through that. That's item number A, $3.50 a pound.
Per gallon.
Per gallon, I take it back, okay. Item B, $1,500 a ton. Item C, $1,330 a ton. Item D, $2.40 per pound. Item E, $525 per ton. Item F, $1.20 per pound. And item I, 52 cents per pound. Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
And our final bid is from E&O Operating Solutions out of Bourne, Massachusetts. Oh, yeah.
Mr. Chief Executive, there's a cashier's check in the amount of 10%, which appears to be in order.
Thank you, County Attorney Joyce.
Chief Executive Gallagher, on this one they bid J, micro C, 2,000 or equivalent, and they put a total price of $51,480. But we actually are asking for a range of 4,000 to 12,000 gallons. So $51,480.
Okay. Is that it?
Yep.
Okay, so that's 2,000, it looks like. And then the maximum 51,400, and we're looking for a range of 20,000, 40? 2,000?
4 to 12,000.
4 to 12,000, okay. All right. So I guess we'll go to Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to refer these bids to the Public Works Department for a report back to this body.
We have a motion and a second to refer back to Public Works and report back to this body. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
12 yea, 0 nay.
12 yea, 0 nay. Motion passes. Moving on to communication number 2022-586. Mark Neary, Public Works Director, requesting council commissioners concurrence to schedule a bid opening for January 4th, 2023 for a tracked skid steer for Roads Division. Director Neary.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher and Commissioners. It looks like we have two bids. The first one is from RDO Equipment out of Bozeman, Montana.
Mr. Chief Executive, there is a bid bond in the amount of 10% from a licensed surety company that appears to be in order.
Thank you, County Attorney Joyce.
Chief Executive Gallagher, the total price on the skid steer is $100,146. 100,146 even.
Did I catch that correct? 100,460? I'm sorry.
What was it? 140,
146.
100,146.
Okay, 146, okay. $100,146. Sorry, page.
The second bid is from Western States Caterpillar out of Boise, Idaho.
Mr. Chief Executive, there is a bid bond in the amount of 10% from a licensed surety company that appears to be in order.
Thank you, County Attorney Joyce.
Chief Executive Gallagher, the total on this is $104,455. 104,455.
$104,455. Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to refer this back to the Public Works Department for a report back to this body.
We have a motion and a second to report back to this, or to send back to the Public Works Department. Commissioner Callahan.
John Deere, sorry, RDO, John Deere.
John Deere. Thank you. So we have a motion and a second to refer back to the Public Works Department. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? Would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
12 yea, 0 nay.
12 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to communication number 2022-01. Angie Mulligan, Public Works Budget and Grant Manager, requesting Council Commissioners concurrence to schedule a bid opening on January 4th, 2023 for a HDPE spillway pipe and fittings for the Molten Dam Spillway and Embankment Improvement Project. Director Neri.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. It looks like we have 3 bids. The first one is from Core in Maine, out of Missoula.
Mr. Chief Executive, there is a bid bond in the amount of 10% from a licensed surety company that appears to be in order.
Thank you, County Attorney Joyce.
Chief Executive Gallagher, the total price of this is $174,917. $174,917.
$174,917.
The second bid is from Dakota Supply Group out of Billings.
Mr. Chief Executive, there is a bid bond in the amount of 10% from a licensed surety company that appears to be in order.
Thank you, County Attorney Joyce.
Chief Executive Gallagher, the total is $195,950. $195,950.
$195,950. Correct.
The final bid is from Northwest Pipe in Butte. Final bid for the night.
Mr. Chief Executive, there is a bid bond in the amount of 10% from a licensed surety company that appears to be in order.
Thank you, County Attorney Joyce.
Chief Executive Gallagher, the total price on this is $215,866.41. $215,866.41.
$215,866.41. Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. I move to refer these back to the Public Works Department for a report back to this body.
We have a motion and a second to send back to the Public Works Department. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? Would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
12 yea, 0 nay.
12 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on. Next item on the agenda is presentations. We have one tonight. We have communication number 2022-581, John Reardon, Commissioner, District 8, and Citizens United Against Urban Decay in Butte-Silver, requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence to allow a presentation on December 21st, 2022, council meeting to discuss current urban decay issues, many requiring immediate attention. Commissioner Reardon and this group respectfully ask the Chief Executive to form a special coalition to include commissioners, Butte citizens, and Butte-Silver department heads to begin a joint effort to address these urgent issues. I just want to address part of this tonight. We're doing the presentation tonight. The second part of that communication cannot be acted upon because it takes an action item for something to come forward on that, so that cannot be addressed. But we will do the presentation tonight. So I'm going to turn this over to Commissioner Reardon. I'll let him introduce the presenters for tonight.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. I just want a couple minutes of your time to thank a few people, basically, for moving this project down the road. When it initiated, I asked Commissioner Fisher and Thatcher to help out. They've been a big part of this also, as have everybody just sitting around this table. Thanks to Danette Gleason, thanks to the county attorney, thanks to community enrichment, all departments and all that, because basically there have been some ongoing discussions about what's going on and basically how to remedy it. So it's, I've personally learned a lot and all that stuff, because you have to respect a lot of things here, including people's rights and property rights. We're all aware of that. I won't sit here and lecture much, but I just wanted to make sure that I would really appreciate, and I think everybody around this table would appreciate the lack of negativity. I don't have no problem with people speaking about what's going on, and as anybody else, but we don't want to turn this into Easter Friday or something like that. So this presentation, Judy Healy has put along with the neighborhood, and this presentation doesn't include other neighborhoods affected by the age and longevity throughout Butte. There's currently petitions out there, so if you get a chance to take a look at one, sign it and all that, because a lot of people really hopped on board with what's going on. I'd like to thank Chief Executive Gallagher, because he and I have had a couple discussions, and the buck kind of stopped here, or Commissioner Fisher said the cat's out of the bag and all that. And JP, like myself and some other people around here, have only been around for a couple of years. And his response to the scenario and all that with his staff has been credible. So I think, putting our, where we're at and working together, and we do have, it's all about money, folks, you know that. We have some money, but I mean, we're not going to be able to get very far. We have to look and make this thing work and then keep moving. This isn't the end tonight, it's basically the beginning, and I think everybody in Butte is looking forward to getting rid of some of the scenarios that affect their neighborhoods, their neighbors, and their everyday livelihood. So it's a very constructive scenario and all that, and I would like to introduce Trudy Healy. Truly, I met her when I was running for commissioner, and she was out doing her thing then, and I think you had been in the neighborhood, I think earlier that day, doing a cleanup, or maybe the day before while you were running for chief executive. So there are some parties that know what's going on, but we just got to figure that how we deal with it, because I believe the scenario on this situation has been kind of the blind eye, you know what I mean? And now we have to deal with it. So I'm glad a lot of people made it here, and we really appreciate your support, and I'll turn it over to Trudy. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Ms. Healy? there's a button on there.
Good evening, Commissioners and Chief Executive Gallagher. My name is Trudy Healy. My address is 111 West Iron Street. Tonight I am speaking on behalf of Citizens United Against Urban Decay for Butte-Silver. I'm speaking out about the dangerous building ordinance and how it hasn't been working for my neighborhood, leading to the cause of urban decay in an extreme way. In spite of the dangerous building ordinance, loopholes are being specifically used in my neighborhood, furthering the advancement of urban decay and crime. And I'm going to play this video. This is just a few of the houses within 2 blocks to across my alley to across the street from me. There are many more, and not in just my district either. You can see clearly in the video that the dangerous burned out houses have no roofs, are collapsing inward and outward, garbage and house debris everywhere. Section 2D10 states in the dangerous building ordinance, whenever a structure has been so damaged by fire, wind, earthquake, or flood, or has become so dilapidated or deteriorated as to become an attractive passageway to children, harbor for vagrants, criminals, or immoral persons for the purpose of committing unlawful or immoral acts, is deemed a dangerous building. 739 Main Street has been a burned-out structure since 2007. In the paperwork I gave you, you can read that from 2013 to date, this house has had the boards ripped off it every year, and criminals have used it to squat in. In trying to figure out how this house has been able to stand for 10-plus years with no repairs or demolition plan in place, I found this, Section 7.8.14.060. If the building does not constitute an immediate danger to the public, it may be secured and maintained against entry. Well, just because it is boarded up does not make it less dangerous. Decay itself has caused it to collapse inward and outward. Again, you can see that the 10-year history of this house shows it has never been secured and it has enabled the criminals a place to store stolen goods, use and sell drugs, and given them a place to park their junk vehicles. Even when in 2019 an abatement plan was issued to the owner of 739 South Main Street, Frank Barber, to put a roof on it, it was never done and was never inspected by the city that the work was completed. Frank Barber has been non-compliant with the repair of the roof since 2019. The refusal or failure to comply with an abatement plan has never been addressed. The non-compliance of the directive should have initiated the next phase by the code enforcement officer. Section 98.14.080, failure to comply. Any person who fails or refuses to comply with such notice is guilty of a misdemeanor. In addition, the code enforcer may initiate an appropriate action to abate such a building as a public nuisance. The inaction of the code enforcement officers has put my neighbors in a dangerous situation. We, the people who live here, can testify that the only thing that happens is that community enrichment posts it as a dangerous building, requires securing the dangerous house. They board the house up again. Community enrichment removes the dangerous building signs, and it's only a matter of time before the criminals rip off the boards and the cycle of crime and calling the police, fires and calling the fire department, having the house inspected again, posted again, and it just starts over again. The clock starts over again. In April of this year, I called Fire Marshal Kelly Lee to inspect the property. The very next day, he did the inspection and deemed it a dangerous building. Myself and the neighbors called the police 1 to 2 times a day for trespassing. They would get rid of one and 2 more would move in. The signs, boards, nor police stopped the congregation of criminals at this house. In addition, the code enforcement officer has failed my neighborhood to initiate and appropriate the correct action, which is to deem this building a public nuisance and condemn it. I have begun the process of passing a petition for signing, and I'll give it to John. We, the people of Citizens United Against Urban Decay, are demanding immediate resolution to move forward with the process to demolish the numerous dangerous buildings that have overtaken our neighborhoods in the historical district of Butte, starting with the long-standing dangerous building at 739 South Main Street. Resources including community enrichment, police, and firemen's time and taxpayers' money over 10 years on this house has been wasted long enough. Chief Executive Gallagher, I'm going to be honest here. I mirrored what you did to take down those 2 places on Park Street in a record-breaking time, as it was still running a secondhand store and it had a roof on it. I saw your success, so I hired Frank Hall to fly a drone over these houses to prove there were no roofs and to show the extent of decay and garbage that surrounds these dangerous houses. I am, as well as our surrounding neighbors, are asking that you step in, as you did for the Park Street buildings, and move the process forward to get these dangerous buildings condemned. In closing, there's a misconception among some of our city leaderships that we, the people, do not understand the process of condemning dangerous houses. We do understand the process. We understand the process works for some neighborhoods, but the process does not work for our neighborhood. We, the people of Citizens United Against Urban Decay, are requesting in public an accounting of the number of houses that have been legally condemned in our District 8 for the last 5 years. We want an accounting of how much of the taxpayers' money has been spent on demolishing dangerous houses, not future or projected, but actual and factual amount for the last 5 years in our district. We understand that for the current calendar year, the budget to demolish dangerous building is $135,000 for community enrichment to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Trudy. And we have others that are going to come forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi there, my name is Carrie West, and I live at 745 South Main. My house is literally 2 feet from the home on 739. And I just want to express some of my concerns and my fears with that structure being so close and being dangerous, where what is it going to do to my home when it finally collapses? If a squatter is in there and the fire gets out of control, what's going to happen to my home? The smell in the summer of human feces and just the mold and mildew of that house, I cannot keep my windows open. I also do have a set of 7-year-old twins that are not, I don't let them outside because there's unpredictable squatters that see it as a welcome mat to that house. They watch them climb in and out of the windows. There's yelling, there's screaming, there's fighting. There has been gunshots. If my sons want to ride their bikes, I have to take them to a park. If they want to play in the grass, I got to take them to my mom's, because I feel like it's not safe for them to be out there around that environment, and that home being so close to my house is hazardous. I just feel that something needs to be done. I have lived there 10 years. I have called community enrichment numerous times. I get nothing but harassed back, hung up on, yelled at. I react to their actions, and I feel like it falls on deaf ears. So thank you for hearing me tonight.
Thank you, Ms. West. Yeah, come on.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Terry Johnson. I'm speaking in behalf of my brother, Dan Pressler. He lives in District 8 at the residence of 802 Colorado Street. This residence has been in our family since the early 50s. He was recently robbed of several hunting rifles and personal items after he was taken by ambulance to the hospital. We believe the culprits were squatting in this house at 739 Main. Entry was made through his dog door off his back porch. He's had his house spray painted, a utility pole was knocked over, and he had a little utility trailer stolen that was locked to this pole. They've never found that. This neighborhood has many long-term residents, or elderly and disabled. These criminals are taking advantage of these people. Mr. William Harris died at his residence at 815 South Main because people had taken over his house and were using him. The resident at 734 South Colorado had vehicles and a camper parked on her property. The city couldn't remove those because they were on private property, even though she didn't authorize them to park them there. The neighbors finally towed these vehicles to the street so they could be removed. The neighbors are standing together to protect their rights as homeowners. Any property that is boarded up in these areas are vulnerable. They find a way in, they start fires, they steal from the residents, and these houses need to be torn down. They need your help. Let's work together to clean up these areas. The properties are more valuable once the buildings are torn down. Several of the residents have already inquired about purchasing the lots. They can once again become profitable tax bases for the city. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Luke Pressler. I'm going to touch on both residential side and the commercial side. Obviously, my dad is Dan from 802 Colorado. On the residential side, I do have video of robbers had gone to 739 South Main. And on the residential side, I guess I didn't realize if it's a code or maybe a law that we have to, as a citizen, maintain our property. And if that's the case, obviously we're not doing that on some of these houses. And on the commercial side, business, the Butte-Silver, the Irish Times had collapsed onto that building and did some structural damage. And I know it's all historical. Butte's a historical place, and I mean, as you can see from the video, a lot of history, but is that how we want to be remembered? Is that historic to, you know, the citizens of Butte? It is a lot of history, but is that how it's going to end up? Structural wise on our building, once it did collapse, there was over 10 yards of brick that laid in the alleyway between the two structures. And I feel that if it wasn't owned by who owns it now, those bricks would probably still be laying there to this day since it had collapsed. So I don't know. I know there is historical stuff and on that side of it to save these buildings, but at a point, when do these buildings be considered dangerous? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pressler.
Hi. Commissioners, Executive Gallagher, my name is Christian Denny. My address is 635 South Main Street. I'm going to give a brief history of 724 Placer Street. This dangerous building burned on December 16th, 2021. According to the dangerous building ordinance, the house should have been secured and a written statement by the property owner as to their plans for demolition not to exceed 60 days. Section 5D-F states that it is the duty of the code enforcement officer to order either the repair or demolition of the dangerous building. Section 6.8.14.050 states that the code enforcement officer is to commence proceeding to cause repair, vacate, or demolish the building, and a statement of action required to be taken. It is now January 4th, 2023, and no action has been taken to demolish this dangerous building. Take note that the Historic Preservation Society has already inspected the property, and they've approved moving forward to demolish it as it's unrepairable. As the dangerous building has not been secured by the property owner nor the city, we are asking for the immediate demolition of this building. This is an alley where children play and ride their bikes. Trespassers use it the entire summer to do their mechanical work on their vehicles. Cindy Winston was emailed regarding the junk vehicles parked on or next to the street of this property. There is no posting of dangerous building on the front of this house, even though the ordinance requires one on a dangerous building until action has been taken. Then we found out that Karen Godnick sold the property recently to a David Tappan Padron, and that was on July 26, 2022. So about, 6 months ago. But to date, nothing has been done. She sold it to David for $3,000 because she didn't want to use the insurance money to have the building demolished. We just ask you to please do something, listen to us. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Denise Etta. We own the property at 817 South Dakota. My main residence is in the Gallatin Valley. Let me say, we have an extreme large population in the Gallatin Valley, and our crime is nothing compared to Butte. I prepared a statement, and I'm sorry for the earlier disruption. We purchased this home in the spring of 21 for my son Logan. He is a student at Montana Tech. We were looking for a place that was safe, secure, and quiet. This was a complete remodel. During the demolition period, we had 2 attempts at someone getting into the home. We did not leave any construction material or any tools within the house because they broke the back door twice. In addition, they attempted to break the windows out to get in. We'd have no idea who it is. Since that time, we have installed a complete security system. That's cameras inside, outside the home, sensors on all of the doors, all of the windows. It's unreal that we would have to do that. We also installed double security doors with double locks at the front and the rear of the house because there is so much foot traffic going through the yard, trying the doors, shaking the windows. We've had 4 broken down vehicles towed away. For most of the summer, I could not park in the front of the house because there was 2 abandoned junk vehicles, and we could watch on the camera where the people were coming and going in and out of the vehicles, throwing tires and things out of their cars at these vehicles. We're a close neighborhood. I know all the people across the street. They're all very nice people. There's one abandoned house there. There's an abandoned house at the end of our block, and our elderly neighbor across the street, she had her garage broken into. In addition, the abandoned house had their garage broken into, and their house was, they attempted to get into the house. My elderly neighbor had her tires slashed. And this has all just been since the spring of '21. I have to say thank you to Trudy because she is so vigilant. At this time, we're unable to patrol the neighborhood, but it shouldn't be our responsibility. And I understand the limitations of the police officers. They're so busy, they're so short. They can't take care of everything. As we were coming here, there was somebody that didn't belong in the neighborhood prowling down the alley, checking the gates. So with that being said, I would just, I would ask that something be done. Homeowners must be held accountable. Something, please, please, please help us out. There's no reason. My biggest fear is that my son will have to defend himself, and he will have to live with the consequences of his actions for the rest of his life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Executive Gallagher, Commissioners, thank you for hearing us out tonight. Appreciate it. JP and I have met before, and we do appreciate when you guys came down to the neighborhood and saw what we're dealing with. I'm not going to get too deep into code and everything. I live directly across from the house on the board there, 830 Placer Street. It has caused, it has impacted my serenity, the ability to enjoy my property in peace and quiet, to the point where I just can't. I can't go in my front yard. The house has been empty for about a month now, and things have quieted down. I know there's no water to the house, so the fact that the owner is able to rent that with no water connection actually to the city, I believe is against codes that are on the books and could be enforced. I've witnessed motorcycles, four-wheelers, cars being dismantled, brought in the middle of the night. I saw a brand new motorcycle pull into that yard and leave in boxes less than 10 hours later the next day. When we call and report this stuff, it's gone before they get there. I was sharing a picture. I got up one morning in March on my day off to have a cup of coffee, step out on my front stair for a morning cigarette, and one of the women from the house across the street was defecating on the mine dump right there. I mean, that's a great thing to wake up to, big butt, somebody out there just taking a dump. And I mean, it's right out in broad daylight. I've witnessed drug dealing out in the open. We've called, we report it. By the time anyone shows up, they're gone, they're done. I mean, they're on to the next thing. I've witnessed, due to the fact that they have no plumbing, I've seen them dumping buckets of human feces in the front yard and burying it. And then to top it off, they let the dogs run in the yard and dig it up. So when the dust is stirred up, of course, everyone in the neighborhood is breathing that. It's a health hazard. I think that yard alone should be able to condemn that home. I know the health department, Trudy had them there. There was a bucket, like 20 gallons of human waste in the alley with a blanket over the top of it. So I guess what we're asking for is some help in our neighborhood. I've been a 30-year resident of that street. It was my grandfather's house. He was a contract miner here. He built that home with his own hands in 1943, died in 45. I bought the home from my parents some years after my grandmother died. I spent my first year of life in that house. Probably will spend my last year there. I'm a proud son of Central Butte. I've been here. I grew up on the 1000 block of Colorado Street. My paper route was Front Street to Platinum, Maine to Montana. I'm proud to be from this part of the town. You know, it's a historic town. All of those houses have a lot of character. We could do so much better. And that's what I'm asking, is just, can we do better? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and JP. Wanted to address this the issue.
Mr. Schlickemeyer, can you, just for the record, give your name and address?
Sorry.
No, thank you.
John Schlickemeyer, 2715 Goodwin. Want to address a few things. Is it all the fact that commissioners or the rules are not there? Some of them are there, yes. It's been brought up tonight that we've had problems with some of the people at community enrichment. One of the things I'm going to address tonight is on the 739 house. That house has been on the books with community enrichment since 2014. It's been talked about. In 2011, it was brought up to the building department to be looked at for the house to be, well, I'm just going to say it, condemned. I'm not going to play semantics. Dangerous building, condemned, same thing. The house has been brought up. Nothing's been followed through. On 1/21 of 21, concerned citizen who happened to talk tonight had a talk with one of the community enrichment people. Not only was she humiliated on the phone, it's actually noted in the log for that house by the person who humiliated her. The person sat the phone down, walked away from the phone, didn't pick it up for another 10 minutes. If I was an employee and my boss saw me do that, I'd be fired. Is there a problem maybe with some mismanagement within Butte-Silver? Possibly. We need to look at that. If we're going to make this all work, make everything better, make Butte better, I'm not saying we need to condemn all these houses. Even a condemned house can be fixed up. It's just the amount of money it's going to take to fix that house. We're not asking for the world. We're asking for people of Butte to be able to live in the neighborhoods they live in. In the code for Butte-Silver, under the ordinance, and under the mothball ordinance that you guys just put in just a couple years back, it says if the house is not in condition for mothball, there is a fine of $500 per day. Not once has that been brought up to these houses. The dangerous buildings list that I asked for back in April of last year, it took me almost a year to get that list. Some of those houses that have been on that list, 739, a couple down on Walnut Street, a couple other buildings have had problems, collapses, or other issues. Have they been addressed? No. In the ordinance, it states that they have you can give the ordinance states that you can give people up to 120 days, I believe it says, to be able to make adjustments. Well, that sounds fair if you get you can get a contractor right now. But if you're making improvements on that house, or that business, or whatever it is, that's in bad shape, we should be able to pass that down without any fines. But at the same time, we have to be able to, it has to be enforced, and it's not being enforced. In the stuff that you were given tonight, there are several instances of community enrichment employees stating, "It's not my job." Across the street from Scott's house, the one you just spoke about, we had that big 55-gallon barrel of sewage. Community enrichment was called. Community enrichment said, "Not my job." It is their job. They are the ones that everything falls upon. They're the ones that are supposed to enforce the code. But they're not the only ones that can enforce that code. In the ordinance, it also states the sheriff's department or the police department have the ability to enforce that code, or anybody who, JP, you assign that to. Let's start doing that. We need to get this done. I'm not asking for you to tear down every house in Butte-Silver to get this done. It shouldn't have to be that way. But we need to work on a way to get these people, to get the houses back up the way they should be. So it makes Butte look better, so that we can bring in more movies. We can bring in more tourism. Otherwise, we're just gonna look like a hole. And that's not what we're about, and never have been. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Sukumar. Do we have anyone else, John?
Pardon?
Do we have anybody else?
No.
Okay.
The presentation.
Yeah. Will you be part of the presentation? This is a presentation
Yeah.
tonight.
Right.
So we had kind of a group that was doing that. If you want to speak at the end, as far as Walkerville, you can do it at the end where there's public comment on items not on the agenda tonight, if that's okay. It's totally appropriate for you to do it there. Is that okay? Okay, thank you. All right. Yep.
Sunday, the 1st of January, I stopped to check out 739, and it's already broken back into the community enrichment, removed the dangerous building signs because it was boarded up. But it didn't even last a month. It's already broken back into. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you. And so I'll turn this over back to John. Thank you for all being here today and presenting the presentation and the visuals that you gave us. I'll let John, since this is his presentation, I'll let him conclude his statement here.
I repeat the chief executive's scenario. Basically, he explained legally what's going to go on. There is talks and process forms being created and stuff like that, so that will be placed on a later agenda and all that stuff. So I don't think I missed anything. I think that I just like to thank everybody, and I believe that, I mean, there's progress being made. You know, like I said, I learned a lot. I'm a pretty impatient guy, and basically what I found out, that it being impatient doesn't get anything done. But I really like where we're at right now from when we just started, and I think I'm really looking forward to the growth. And like I said, naturally, the funding is the deal. We have a ways to go, but I do believe that you'll be seeing some different aspects in the next couple, 2 or 3 months, and I just appreciate your effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reardon. Okay, with that, we're going to move on to other items on the agenda, and at the end of the agenda tonight, where it says public comment, we'll allow the 2 statements there, okay? All right, so moving on to Section 2, consent agenda, A 1 through 4 and B 1 through 17. Do we have any friendly amendments or segregations? Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. I would like to segregate number 12, 2023-13.
So that's communication, that's number 12, communication number 2023-13. Are there any other friendly amendments or segregations? Seeing none, Commissioner Frederickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to approve Section 2 of the consent agenda, A 1 through 4 and B 1 through 20, with the exceptions of 12, communication number 2023-13.
We have a motion and a second to approve tonight's consent agenda. Is there anything on the question? Could commissioners please vote? We'll finish this one then. Okay. And would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
12 yea, 0 nay.
12 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. I think we're going to be okay. Okay. Moving back to item number 12, communication number 2023-13, Karen Burns, Community Development Director, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization to have Chief Executive sign an agreement with SCJ Alliance to provide services related to the update and development of a housing plan for Butte-Silver. Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. Reasoning for segregating this particular line item is my concern of spending $95,000 on what I consider to be another study. I don't know if it is a study or not, but as I read through it, there's a lot of points in it, but one of the big ones is task 2.4, which has to do with zoning and planning, which is, a good thing. But I see a lot of duplication of things happening here with, the fire services study, this study, what we had presentation on tonight for derelict buildings and such, and I'm just not quite sold on spending $95,000. Not saying I can't be sold, but I hope Ms. Burns can put a sales pitch on me and help me get through this. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Fisher. Director Burns.
Thank you, JP, Chief Executive Gallagher, and members of the council, and Commissioner Fisher. I'm sorry, I couldn't really hear everything that you were saying leading up to the question, but I'll try to answer what I think you were referencing. It was quite loud out there. So what I want to talk about is the housing plan update here. This has been approved by the ARPA committee to bring forward, and then approved by this body, this allocation of $100,000. And so this is the next step in that process. So we had already approved that we were going to allocate $100,000 from the ARPA funds. Then this body approved that. And so then I went ahead and issued a request for proposals and put that out through the process. Those were opened in our office. We received 2 proposals to complete this housing plan, one from SCJ Alliance and another one from a company called Nexus out of Seattle. We went and ranked those proposals and then brought back this contract document to you tonight for approval so we can move ahead with that housing plan. A housing plan for Butte-Silver is extremely important. If we don't have an updated housing plan, we will not be able to apply for additional funding from federal sources and state sources. And this housing plan that we currently have is from 2015. and it is a really important document. It will give us a really good snapshot and how do we manage our housing stock going forward. It'll talk about what the condition of our housing is, how many houses we have in different categories for income levels and for neighborhoods, and it really will help us make plans ahead of how we work with our neighborhoods that are existing, planned neighborhoods. It's a really important document. So it's something that I'm really passionate about. It's something that our housing task force that we have put together to address affordable housing will act as the technical committee for this plan as we move it forward, and there'll be lots of public participation. So I'm not sure if that's exactly what you asked because I couldn't hear all of it, but that's the gist of this request tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns, or Director Burns. And I'd like to address a little bit as Director Burns talked about, and I know that Commissioner Fisher does not like studies, but truthfully, the ability to access grant funding that goes along with an updated housing plan that's required by many of the grants that come forward to us, and so 100,000 can turn into many millions for our community in accessing grants that will help address the issues that we see coming at us already. We know affordable housing is an issue. Problems with housing just locally. This addresses everything on there, and so I'm very much in support of this. But Commissioner Fisher, would you like to follow up?
Thank you, Chief Executive Gallagher. Thank you, Director Burns. I guess as I stated, I see when I read through this duplication of things that other studies like the fire services study, this study, I see some duplication in there. I think $95,000 is a lot of money to do this. And, this idea of spending this ARPA money to do these studies, in my opinion only, the federal government didn't give us this ARPA money to study things for 3 or 4 years. This was money given to counties and states so that they could do things to fix things now. It's not money that was given to these entities like Butte-Silver County to, in my opinion, to do things that study this and study that. And I mean, I just don't think that we're going in the right direction with all these studies. We've heard tonight from a real good presentation by Commissioner Reardon and his constituents out here talking about some of the problems we have. In this scope of services, I don't see where this kind of comes into anything to address some of the concerns that were addressed tonight. So, I mean, I'm sure this is going to pass because it's recommended concur and place on file, but in my opinion only, I have a tough time agreeing with spending $95,000 here, $60,000 for the fire department. This ARPA money's going, I mean, people are acting like this is just, let's spend this money and get it done. Do a study here so we can get more money in grants. Well, I don't know if that's all the way it's supposed to be, and that's just my opinion. And I thank you, Ms. Burns, for your presentation, and I hope the best for you in this endeavor. But I really am skeptical of things like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. Commissioner Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I feel your pain, Commissioner Fisher, with not wanting another study, but I sit on the ARPA committee. And this study is within the criteria that is allowed with the ARPA expenditures. It is something that was discussed at great length on the committee, and I believe that the vote was unanimous when we voted to approve it on the ARPA committee. And then I kind of believe that the council voted unanimously to approve it as well already. So my feeling is it's very much needed for the community, and it's very appropriate with the ARPA money. And I would make a motion that we concur with the communication and place it on file.
We have a motion and a second to concur and place on file. Is there anything else on the question? Could commissioners please vote? And would anyone like to change their vote? Whoops, I'm sorry, Commissioner Reardon. Okay, and would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
10 yea, 2 nay.
10 yea, 2 nay, motion passes. Moving on to Section 3, ordinances and resolutions introduced to judiciary. We have one, resolution number 2023-01. Please note that is being introduced to judiciary. We have the calendar and other meetings and events. Please note when all those are. And next, we will move to Ms. Sill. Any comment on any matter not on the agenda tonight, and so we'll bring you forward, and then we'll bring our gentleman from Walkerville up as well. So thank you for your patience. Yeah. The red will show right on the microphone. There you go. There you go.
My name is Mary Sill. I live at 1159 Steel Street. And I'm not asking for money. I just want to know what happened to some. In 2017, $101,500 was gifted to the Chelsea Bailey Animal Shelter. Now, I am assuming that this money is in some sort of fund. Is it in a savings account? Is it accruing interest? This is under community enrichment also. I would just like to know, I would publicly request an accounting for this money, just so we know what's there. The second question I have is Mike Smith wrote an article in 2020, 3 years ago. And it was a very nice article about the animal shelter. And he mentioned something about Stephanie Serini being in charge of fundraising for the animal shelter. I have not heard a single word about fundraising for the animal shelter. I'd like to know what's going on. And the third question I have is about the broken door at the animal shelter. Somebody smashed in their door. I think they know who it is, but he has not been held accountable. Who is going to pay for the door? And they need a door. There are a lot of things going on that need to be done at the animal shelter, and thank you very much for addressing that, Mr. Gallagher. It's just that it's been going on for so long. We would like to know, I know money has been paid, I think, to McGrath for painting, and that hasn't been done. The new kennels are stored in the garage. They have not been installed. I think we can do better than what we're doing. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sill. Come on up.
Thank you for your time, Council Commissioners. J.P. Gallagher. I'm an alderman for the city of Walkerville. We've been dealing with Butte-Silver enrichment for over 10 years now. We've had residences up there and places up there. They have come up there and inspected a trailer on Toboggan, and all the windows were broken out of it. It was dilapidated, garbage knee-high, from one end to the other. Butte-Silver enrichment came up there and inspected it and said it was structurally sound. It caved in 2 weeks later. We've got cars parked on Daly Street. We can't get moved. They come up there and say, it's not my problem. You know, where do you get a job? It's not my problem. I don't have to do anything. You know, people in Walkerville are tired of the excuses. We've had houses up there on Clark Street where they had probably 5 motorhomes up there, 5 trailers up there, and multiple cars running all day and night, and you can't do nothing. We've tried everything we can with Butte-Silver enrichment. It was turned over to Eileen Joyce. Nothing was ever done. You know, we want to change our community and make it a better living community, and the problem is Butte-Silver enrichment. They come up there, they come up sometimes they don't come up. We've had meetings with Dave Palmer and Ed Randall and Moodray were supposed to show up. They never showed up. Palmer's on vacation the next day, won't even show up to the meetings. You know, I joined the zoning board here in Butte when I moved back to Butte to learn the process and be involved politically and better my neighborhood. One example we have done is got McGree to provide everybody with the garbage can up there and go on our taxes, make it more affordable for people in Walkerville, and they can clean up their neighborhoods. But we need something done up there, you know. I'm just speechless at how many times we've called to get something done in Walkerville. There's houses on the terrace number 8 and number 10, we've been complaining about them for years. There's people running in like everybody else. They're no different than any other house that every drug dealer and crackheads running in and out of. And we need some participation, you know. You said a prayer here, John, at the beginning of the session here, and part of that prayer was to serve our community and do a good job. I'd like to see that happen. I want to thank you for my time.
Can you please give us your name again? I'm sorry, I don't think we got
Joel
that.
Arnoldi.
Okay.
I'm at 1519 Clayton in Walkerville. Also, there's the Law Montana of Environmental Protection Policy that guarantees residents of safe and healthy environment. So there is a Montana state law amongst many laws in Butte-Silver County that could be applied here. We just need some initiative. Thank you for your time today, and I will speak again if I get another chance.
Thank you, Mr. Arnoldi. Thank you. Please state your name, address.
My name is Nicholas Conlon. I live at 323 West Daly up in Walkerville. I have been calling animal control for almost a year now. It's been about 10, maybe 9 months. They will not come up there. They threaten me with, if we do come up there, we want you to give out your name and we will tell the people that you called the cops on them, allegedly. I don't know what to do at this point. I'm a full-time college student. I've called my commissioner. He advised me to come here today because animal control will not come up there. This dog, the neighbor has 3 dogs. It barks 24/7. I have probably 10 recordings on my phone just in the past 7 days since Dan and I have spoken. It causes severe migraines for me. I don't know what else to do other than get your guys' attention to get on animal control about the barking. It's a public nuisance, and I shouldn't have to live in my house with constant barking. I live in a very quiet neighborhood otherwise, except for these dogs. And my neighbors complain about the dogs, but nobody comes up there and does anything. I don't need to call 911. There's no one getting murdered unless, I'd shoot the dog or something, which I wouldn't do. But, I'm at that point. I don't know what else to do. So I beg and urge you guys to please contact Community Enrichment or Animal Control or someone to come up there at, I think their address is 331 West Daly. That is where the nuisance is at. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I have a 4.0 GPA in college, but I cannot handle this dog barking. And so I come today urging and begging you guys to please do something. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other public comment?
Frank Little, 508 Transit, Walkerville. Same thing, houses, I got a garage up there by me. It hasn't had a door on it in 9 months, a big garage door. And it's open, the building's all open, the trusses are caving in on it, and there's a couple others like that up there. The same thing. Community Enrichment comes up once in a while, but they never come back. Just because you come once, that doesn't mean once. You gotta keep coming on these guys. Nobody's in this place, but there's a 16-foot garage door. Nothing. Kids can go in this building, and it's very dangerous, in my opinion. So, I don't know.
Thank you, Mr. Little. Is there any other public comment on any item not on the agenda tonight? Seeing none, it looks like I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned.
So, I'll take this side.